Hello and welcome to Beyond the Lane. We have just come out of our first Champions League game at home in a long time against Villareal and won the game 1-0 thanks to an own goal. Number of different talking points throughout both halves of the game, and as well as a whole load of other stuff. A really good night in terms for us. The win means that it is our third opening game in a row that we have actually won in the Champions League. So off to a very good start. Hopefully that will continue. Definitely a game of two halves. The first half in itself started out very, very brightly for us. We scored the goal in the third minute. A lovely wee ball in from Bergvall looking to get across the front of the centre backs coming into the box to Richie, who's coming in at that back post. The goalkeeper junior comes out, dives across, hand comes out to try and grab it and pull it into his body and snatch it in. Ends up hitting the ball too hard, misses it with the other hand, and it goes shooting into the net, giving us a 1-goal lead in the game. So, other than that, a relatively decent half for us. A couple of opportunities for Villareal. Pepe put one just wide off the post. Real good opportunity. When I seen him hit it, I actually thought he'd put it into the back of the net in that bottom corner. Thankfully, it went the other side of the post and went wide. Villareal played very, very well in the first half. We just happened to play a good bit better. Our passing was really smooth in the first half. We made and created a lot of opportunities to get forward. Kudus was a man possessed. Every time he had that ball, he was running down that right hand side. He was looking for either getting the byline and putting the ball over the top into the box, playing it across, or he was looking to try and cut in and play that diagonal ball through into the middle. So it was really good every time he had the ball. It was so good to watch. It's just, he isn't afraid to take on his man, the next guy and the guy after that. And the thing is that every time he does it, there's end product. He is getting past people and he's making those passes. We've seen it happen very, very well against West Ham at the weekend as well, and it just continued into this game against Villareal. He was a real threat for us coming down that right hand side. Xavi on the left making his Champions League debut for us and the second game for us as well. Again, he did quite well down the left hand side. He's not quite match fit from what I'm looking at and seeing him play, but you can see some of those wee clever balls that he's playing, some of the passes he's making, and the spaces he's running into to receive balls in. I just don't think him and Spence have clicked quite right just yet. I just kind of feel that they're not quite as vibing as what he has done in the past, with Brennan Johnson coming down that left hand side. So hopefully, when they two click, we'll end up seeing a very strong left handed side coming down there. In the meantime, for all that going on, and he's always the heads up. He's always looking for those wee clever passes, either onto the left hand side down the wing for the overlap, or he's looking to play those balls in through the middle or backwards into players coming and running onto the ball. So I felt he had a really good, strong first half as well. The defensive trio, the midfield trio at the back, Bentancur and Sarr played very, very well. Sarr was very strong. Bentancur mopping up a lot of balls and recycling and redistributing the ball out was very, very solid. Bergvall was just on another level again in that first half. He played so well, ball down, trying to make that ball tick and make it work for the team. Getting the ball, making those runs forward, trying to get in and linking those passes in between the back, the middle, and out to the wings, or playing those balls forward into Richie. Richie was a wee bit in the quieter side, but it wasn't really for the one to try, and he was running and trying to get into spaces, but sometimes the ball just wasn't getting in there for him to do it. So a wee bit of a harder shift for him, but it's not something he isn't used to. He's used to grafting when he's playing. It's one of the things that I quite like about him as a player is that even if he's not scoring or he's not creating, he's actually doing a part of work for the team and trying to bring the ball into play to give somebody an opportunity to score. Our back line was very, very solid. Spence, I think, is getting a wee bit too cocky on the left-hand side. I don't know what anyone else is thinking. I just kind of felt he was just moving a wee bit too far ahead sometimes, and then he's having to get covered by Van de Ven on that left hand side when he's not quite tracking back quick enough after he's lost the ball. But he's young, he'll learn, and I'm very certain that when it comes to the review of the game, Thomas Frank and the coaches will be having a word with him, as well as a few of the others, especially in that performance in the second half. Pedro Porro was really bright down that right hand side, made some really good tackles, as well as being in the right places to pick balls up and take it away out of the box. And he did that quite a few times in the second half when we were really up against it. So all in all, first half was pretty good for Villareal, but it was a hell of a lot better for us. We played very, very well. And at halftime, we definitely deserved to be 1-0 up. Second half was most definitely a game of two halves, without a doubt. We were relatively poor. We didn't really create any chances. Defensively, we played very well, and not because we were stopping the odd attack coming through. It was because we had to, because Villareal came out a completely different team and actually played that second half the way I thought, and probably everyone else thought Spurs were going to do when they came out at half time. But we were just up against it right from the off. We struggled to contain them going forward. They came forward in huge numbers. Every attacking play, balls coming in or over the top from Villareal, we were second to them. We were struggling to get balls off of them, which was resulting in them making a lot of chances and actually really putting Vicario on the defence under a hell of a lot of pressure. But we managed to soak it up from start to finish, which was a surprise because genuinely thought towards that end of the second half that we were looking like we were going to concede a goal, and kind of felt that if we did concede one, there was the possibility we could have conceded two. There were a number of talking points in that second half. Xavi had already picked up a yellow card. He had made a tackle. At first, it didn't look like much, but he did actually catch the player and probably would have been a second yellow. The referee, however, and I'm glad that he didn't, but he was throwing out yellow cards for fun throughout that match for the similar type tackles for next to nothing. So we're very lucky that he stayed on the pitch. But because he didn't get the yellow for that, and they did get the free kick, but because he didn't get that yellow, Marcelino, the manager for Villareal, ended up getting a yellow card because of the way he was protesting to the fourth official. The fourth official actually had to message the referee to say, look, you need to come over and deal with this because he's being quite aggressive. The referee will talk about it at the end because that's a different conversation altogether. So best chance, and probably the real only chance that we had in that second half, was in the 72nd minute. Kudus played a really lovely ball across the not across the defence, across the back of the defence. So instead of whipping the ball forward and round, he actually kind of hit it and curled it towards that back post, with Richie coming flying in at the back ahead of the second centre half and just missing it. If he had maybe been another yard quicker, half a yard quicker, he would have gone ahead onto that. But what happened there is he missed it with the head, but actually caught it with his hand. But I think everybody missed it. And that was really the only opportunity that we had in the second half to try and get that second goal. And on occasion, it wasn't because of the want to try. And, we had some really good runs through. Kudus played again very, very well in that second half. And in the second half, probably one of very few players who was actually really attempting to get that ball drive forward and get the ball out of our half and actually try and create chances and opportunities from it. As I said, Porro made a number of interceptions at the back and was driving forward into key areas again just to take that ball away from our own half, because, as I said, we were absolutely woeful in getting that ball away from the box. We were playing some really dangerous passes across the back, and Villareal started to put a bit more pressure on it, and we were starting to make some of those last minute passes that we've seen last season that really gets us into trouble. So we got away with it. And then the big one probably would be the 83rd minute. The Villareal forwards charging in. I can't remember the guy's name, I'm sorry. And Van de Ven came in and kind of smacks him from behind. And the big question was, has he just conceded a penalty? Because it was so, so close. Thankfully, on review, it turned out it was probably about half a yard or so before the line, meaning that it wasn't last man. And because the ball was travelling away from goal, it wasn't denying a clear-cut goal-scoring opportunity, which would have meant he would have been sent off. And because it's outside the box, it wasn't a penalty. So we really, really got lucky. However, because it was so close to goal, and because Pepe has been hitting these things for fun all game, it really had me worried that he was going to end up sticking this one into the back of the net. And to be honest, the way he hit it, and from the camera angle from watching it on telly, I actually thought he had rattled it into the top corner, but he had just put it wide. Thankfully for us, because that late into the game at 85 minutes when he hit that shot, we would definitely not have been coming back. And because they were just constantly coming forward, the whole second half, if they'd have gotten one, they probably had a good chance of getting a second one. And I think that does kind of show how really good the defensive work has been since Thomas Frank and his coaching staff have come in, because there is no way last year under Ange Postecoglou or the year before we would have held out in that. There's absolutely no way. We would have been absolutely destroyed playing the way we were. But as I say, it goes to show how much the team has progressed tactically and defensively under Thomas Frank coming in the summer, that we actually held out for that. In terms of the referee, I kind of felt it was really poor. A lot of free kicks and cards being given for things that really, yeah, a free kick, yes, for some of them, others definitely not. But he was chucking out yellow cards like it was candy at Halloween. He was throwing them around the place. I'm surprised he didn't get done for littering them with the cards that came out for next to nothing. And it did seem at times you kind of felt like, is this referee trying to make the game more about him and the things that he's doing than actually allowing the free flowing football from both sides? Because there was some really good football played by both teams. It just kind of felt that he just didn't quite allow that to happen at times. I mean, don't get me wrong, he made some very good decisions, but a lot of it you were sitting thinking, what the hell are you playing at? I mean, Moani made his debut and within 30 seconds had a yellow card because he's tried to kick a ball up over the top, and the guys came into the back of him and fell down holding his face as if he'd just been hit by him. And there was just so many wee bits and pieces like that from the referee. I just felt he wasn't quite as good as what he probably could have been. But I think what it goes to show is that there's a real big difference between the way games are refereed and how free kicks and cards are dealt in the Premier League compared to Europe. Europe just definitely seems to be quite a soft approach in terms of if tackles are made, there's certain things apply, and you're more likely to get a free kick for going down, and certainly you're probably more likely to get a yellow card for it. So I think it's definitely something that as a team we'll need to be looking at in future games, that we are trying to not be quite as rash. And I think simply in the second half, because we were constantly under the cosh, that we were maybe being a little bit more reckless, just trying to make sure that we were breaking up play and they weren't getting forward to create opportunities. So, I mean, all in all, it's a very good game. If you walk away having played such a poor second half as what we did, and still get 3 points, score a goal, and get a clean sheet, then we've done exceptionally well. So yeah, look, as Thomas Frank's first European Champions League game in charge, we've gotten a win. And if you look at it all overall, and if I haven't said this at the start of the video, 5 games, 4 wins, 4 clean sheets, 9 goals conceded, 1. So, we're cooking. All right, we're doing well. And don't take it as all of a sudden I'm going to start shouting, we're going to win the league. We're not going to win the league. We're not going to win the Champions League. But we're going to do pretty well if we can continue this vein of form. And what it does show as well with the substitutions that were made, Sarr came off, Polina came on, Savi went off, Johnson came on, although Johnson didn't play particularly well in my mind, but we still won. It doesn't really matter. But then we brought Kevin Danso on later on for Bergval and just tightened everything up and made it just so much more defensively solid. And we've seen that game out quite comfortably. Although it was difficult to watch at times, as I say, at the end. If they hadn't gotten a goal off of that free kick, they probably could have got a second. But I think all in defensively, we were very well. We put in a lot of tackles and a lot of good tackles as well. But we allowed them to come on to us and chase it down and create their own opportunities, which we really shouldn't have done. We really should have closed it out in the second half, and we just failed to do that. But as I say, all in all, really good game in terms of what we got out of it, and it's just something else for us to build on. And no doubt with the analysts that will have been in the stadium watching the game for Thomas Frank, as well as the coaching staff on the sideline, there'll be things taken from that and probably changed and put into play for other games going forward. But as far as first nights back in the Champions League goes, hey, who cares? We won. We got 3 points out of it, and we're sitting in a decent position in terms of the overall table at the moment for that. Our next game coming up is going to be away to Brighton on Saturday, and then we have the League Cup game against Doncaster on Wednesday. I will put up a preview video over the next couple of days for the game against Brighton away. It's going to be a tough one, I think. Brighton are a very good team. I like watching them. So it'll be interesting to see how we set up in another away game in the Premier League. So a lot of things to look forward to the weekend. Bergval for me was definitely man of the match. I just felt his overall contribution defensively, linking up play, creating opportunities, and the ball in for that goal at the start just ticks the box for me. But I think Mohamed Kudus was a really close second on it. So a really, really good game overall for him and a number of the other players. So yeah, looking really forward to the Premier League game on Saturday. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.